Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on. Happy Friday. Now, taking a look, of course, at Bitcoin, just before we do, I want you to know that Bitcoin is doing very well, and we need to understand that this is a momentous trend, and oftentimes it can continue much longer than you expect. So again, just to kind of preface there, I don't think shorting at this point or leverage positions is ideal. I'll get more into that here in a moment. Now, thanks again for joining me. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, I just love teaching people how to trade. I hope you can learn something here today, and of course, help you understand best practice, big picture, etc. Right? So, in essence, I have a trading community, trading academy. Love teaching people how to trade. I hope you can become a better trader. Go ahead and check that out in your own time. CryptoCache.tech. I actually send out signals where you can auto follow, and we've been taking a tremendous amount of profit here recently. And I can tell you that it's a really awesome situation, and I'm happy to be able to experience this with almost 300 members at this point. So thank you again so much to my current community members for just being an amazing part of my life. Thank you. Taking a look here at Bitcoin, here's what's going on. So we're above the 50-day simple moving average, below the 200. We've known that for a while, not a big deal. We're trending closer to 70 on the RSI, but we're still not overextended. That's the great thing about the situation here. When you don't have these parabolic increases, these nice healthy staircase patterns, you have a tendency of allowing the RSI to kind of calm down and continue to progress. Instead of having this significant push in one day, we've had a slow, continuous grind to the upside. That's building a strong amount of volume, and we've got a great amount of volume support, both at 39,000, and of course now roughly approximately between 41 and 44,000. So we're building that foundation to essentially be able to have a good, stable growth pattern here, right? So Bitcoin's looking very good in that sense. We love to see that. Ultimately, a very, very good continuation. And some people ask me, hey, well, what about TD sequential? It's overextended, we're at a 9. Normally that'd be a concern, but if you kind of just take a look here, we spent 3 days, almost 5 days total, out of like 6 trading days, right at the price point of 42,200. Once it broke there, it hasn't looked back. Okay, so keep in mind that'll probably be a very strong support level moving forward. So right here in this range here, right at about 42.2, we can expect a decent support if the price were to pull back. Okay, so just know, heaven forbid the price pulls back, I do feel as if that would probably be the likely bottom. Okay, and that does imply that 40,000, albeit still a good support area and range, is likely not going to even be a factor in the immediate future. Okay. Again, we'll bridge that gap later if we happen to lose 42,200, but generally speaking, 42.2 is a very strong, solid support based on its significant resistance for a full 2 weeks, and it got tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before it broke. Okay. So the more often you test a resistance, the more likely it is to break. Which brings us to our next point here. If we take a look at, of course, the previous pattern here, we've seen push up here. Actually, let's go back. We saw a push here first initially, got rejected. That was when the price was first selling off. You never truly can bounce right back, okay, especially after a larger decrease like it was. Then, of course, comes all the way down to 35. We bounce, we come back up to 44.5, basically 44,500. And then comes down, bounce up again, 44.5, drops down, 37,000 is the new number. Back up to 44,500, gets rejected. It comes down to 38,000, continues this ascending type of pattern, and of course we're right back up to where we started, once again for a fifth and potentially final attempt at 44,500. So long story short here, we need to see the one-day candlestick here today close above 44.5 to have really good confidence going into the weekend. And when I say confidence going into the weekend, we could expect to pull back this weekend too, and I wouldn't be surprised by it. But what we could also see too is closer to the end of the trading day, a significant amount of investing going on and taking place to ensure we close above that price point, and that should effectively become the support throughout the weekend if the price were to even pull back. Because again, there's less volume over the weekends, and we got to understand that you're going to have a little more volatility, but for lack of better terms, there's very little selling pressure right now. And that lack of selling pressure should essentially continue this weekend if we get a nice clean close above the most recent or previous resistance levels, which is 44,500. So that being said, that's essentially what could happen. Again, a lot of different possible scenarios. We cannot, we could talk till we're blue in the face about all the potential different things that could happen. But generally speaking, we got to acknowledge the obvious. We're in an ascending trend here. Volume has increased significantly. We've tested and we're currently above. Again, this is currently above. We probably have about, well, I think we have about 9 to 10 hours left of trading data here in this one-day candlestick. So it's not closed yet, but the truth be told is it's pushing hard, and it kind of broke that resistance tentatively for the moment. And if that does close above, we're going to be in much better shape than we ever have previously. Because again, yes, we've candle wicked up quite a few times, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but we have not officially closed above. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens today. I think a close above will give us some really good sense and security over the weekend. If we close below, the likelihood of a pullback possibly to 42 or 43 may be a reality. Again, not the end of the world. It's a higher low all the same. And it's still staying within this current trend line too. Okay, so it wouldn't be the worst thing ever if we saw a pullback. It'd almost be welcomed because we have continued for a good solid, how many days is that? What if we count the green days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 11 days. So 7 out of 11 have been green. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a red day here soon, just to kind of have that natural correction. All right. Again, the key is natural here, and if you look at the natural progression, this is a healthy staircase pattern. This is not a parabolic, nonsensical run. We like to see that. And it's funny, I got some comments yesterday in my for a few of my videos, people that really love and enjoy parabolic runs because they day trade. Totally all well and good, perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Parabolic increases serve a purpose. You just got to know that when something shoots straight up, the likelihood of it coming down is much higher. And that's not something you want to try to, consistently invest in. You might get lucky sometimes and enjoy that, but you're going to get wrecked too on the inverse if you took the wrong position and you're not careful, right? Again, different schools of thought. It's all well and good though. I mean, really, to each your own. Do what works best for you. Me being more of a conservative trader, I like to see healthy patterns here that take time to progress and give us actual valid, technical analysis instead of these nonsense, total mind screwers. Just, insert your own words here, right? This is nonsense to me. This does not belong in trading. But again, it happens, and you just got to kind of roll with it. This is the way it goes. Anyways, enough about that. On the 4-hour time frame, touching on this here, we are back up over 70 on the RSI on the 4-hour. This does imply that we might see a potential pullback, just based on the simple fact that being a bit on the overextended side. We've seen this time before. Anytime the RSI comes up over 70, there is a pullback. Now, this is a large pullback based on a large increase. We do not need to expect the same thing to happen here. I don't think that's going to occur. Once again, if there is a pullback, it should come back down at the very worst, in my opinion, down to 42 and then likely bounce. That's the likelihood there, just based on the fact that it would continue to make a higher lows, and it would effectively give us that continuation, because once again, this line here at 42,200 was a very strong resistance level previously. Okay, therefore it is considered a new support level because it's now considered a buy wall, not a sell wall. All right, that kind of the dominance essentially took place, right? And you can kind of see that here if you look at this, right? This is when the price is going down, and this is where the price is going up. The bulls are in control, and we just have to acknowledge that. Until they give up control, that's going to be the consistent nature of the way that it's going to work. I don't think we're going to see a significant increase this weekend or soon. I think we are expecting a slight pullback and then another increase. Okay, I just feel like it's perhaps a little bit more likely to see that. Once again, price could continue higher, all well and good. This is a momentum play, so I recommend do not trying to go against the grain here. Try not to short, because honestly, a short position right now can get you wrecked. There's a lot of squeezes that have likely happened here in the recent past, and it's not fun to be part of that. So if you're going to do anything, I would say just dollar cost average on the sidelines for the most part. Continue to add to your bag, and there's nothing wrong with making sure that you get a good overall average position, but taking like a really big, large leveraged position right now might be disadvantageous unless you know exactly what you're doing. And even if you know what you're doing, it could still come back on you, right? All right, let's look at some other things here. We're above both moving averages, and this is something that's very synonymous a lot of times on the 4-hour. When you see the 50-day SMA working with a trend line, that implies the trend is your friend, okay? In other words, we should not shift gears at all to a type of bearish mindset based on the simple fact that we are still continuing to progress upwards concurrent with the 50-day SMA on the 4-hour, as well as this ascending type of pattern that we can obviously see is happening. But you can tell that we're a little bit on the higher side here, right? So if we take a volume weighted average price, you can see that standard deviation, a lot easier to see on the 1-hour. We are well above that, okay? And there's going to be the natural contraction to cause the price to come back down within that lines. So again, just you have to honor the volume and how much weighted average you have. And right now, based on the amount of volume, that price is higher than it should be. There's nothing wrong with a pullback, but just know that the volume should be at 44,300. That's based on how much volume we've had in the last 24 hours, or I guess you could say more so 12. And in this sense here, we're well above that average. It's good to be above. You want to be above. That's case in point where you would want to take a trade, right, in most cases. But in this scenario here, it's going to come back down, and we could very well likely, by the end of today, see a test of 44,500 as a potential support, right? Price could come down and bounce off as a support, or we could potentially lose that, not get that one-day candlestick close above, expect a pullback potentially over the weekend, and then a bounce off 42.2. All right, so a few different case scenarios, of course, but generally speaking, if you look at all the data here, we're a bit on the overextended side. Speaking of overextension, let's go ahead and see what TD sequential tells us. We got a nice reset here. This is nice. So we got a 9 followed by a nice period consolidation. This is the beauty of this staircase type of pattern in the fact that we see 9s consistently, right? Comes up to its utmost, 36 hours of bullish continuation, and then we see a nice solid 12 to 24 hours of just sideways action. This is perfect. And this is exactly what a bull flag is supposed to look like too, or a pendant pattern, however you look at it. Essentially the price comes up, starts to kind of channel itself down, and then comes right back up again as it builds that volume base. Okay. So we're seeing that over and over again with Bitcoin. It keeps doing the same thing. And it's just a really awesome, beautiful thing. So again, there's literally no reason to stack the deck against this momentous trend. The bulls are in control. Until they give up control, I would recommend sticking with the mindset that the price is going to continue to progress upwards or sideways before it comes back down significantly. Okay. But that being said, we hit a 9 recently. We're at a 2. Hypothetically, we could see a continuation of the upside for another 24 to 36 hours, somewhere in that range, as far as the 4-hour time frame is concerned. Now, is that a guarantee? No. We still want the one-day candlestick to close first, have a nice amount of volume going into the weekend, and then take it from there. Generally speaking, we see lower volume on the weekends, and you could effectively anticipate an inverse of what the weekday was, right? So generally speaking, a green week breeds a red weekend. That's just the natural way of things. So a pullback this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slow trickle down to Sunday to 42.2 or somewhere in between. It doesn't have to come all the way down there. Just saying that's the likely support, okay? Again, just be mindful of that. Just because we're at a 2 does not mean it's going to come to a full 9. It doesn't always work that way, as we can see here recently. We got a 6 in a reset. We've got a 3 in a reset. 4. It did come back down to a 9 here, but generally speaking, we're not seeing full-on lengthy, time frames here in that sense. Okay, so just something to be mindful of. The last thing we want to look at is the 1 hour, and just to touch on this here too. This could help us understand if we're due for a turnaround or a pullback. We're at a 7, so 2 more hours worth of continuation of the upside or sideways from here, and we'll get that little reset. So generally speaking, TD sequential isn't telling us really much at all here in the sense because we're not overextended by any means. And that's the great thing about this. That means we have potential for much more increase here, not only today, but even throughout the weekend. So just because we traditionally have a green week and a red weekend, or a red week and a green weekend, doesn't mean it's going to happen this weekend either, right? This is a different type of feeling coming into it. Now, I didn't check the fear and greed index today, but I know it was at a 40, if I recall correctly, yesterday, which is still not greedy, but it's still definitely not fear or fury. I don't know, whatever word you want to describe. The mindset is changing in the market right now. So people are starting to realize that, hey, I better get on this track, this road before it's too late again, right? And once we break 46,000, I can tell you it's going to probably likely take off from there. We're really close to that point, and I do feel as if the way that it's progressing so far, the likelihood of it breaking this time is much higher than any time before. Because first of all, the first 3 attempts, or 4 or 5 attempts, however you want to count it, they were all very superficial in a lot of ways, with low volume and just these large, significant, well, it might actually more so insignificant runs just before it hit that resistance. Okay. What's different now than it was before is we have a strong amount of volume, we have decent continuation, we have a healthy continuation pattern, and that to me is much better than just a general, parabolic push through a specific resistance level. I would much rather have a stable foundation than something that isn't. All right, so again, a lot of different schools of thought here, but generally speaking, I wouldn't expect a significant pullback. I would limit your leveraged positions, especially if you're a short trader, and obviously just be careful with the way in which you approach the market right now. It's absolutely at that break-even point where we're not bullish, not bearish, but I can absolutely tell you, though, in the last week and a half, Bitcoin has proven to just be a very strong bull, and most people that are trying to short are getting wrecked right now. Okay, so please just be careful with that. Yes, we might see a pullback. Wonderful, that's great. We actually kind of want to see that nice little correction, be perfectly fine. But try not to think the sky is falling if we see a correction of just say 5% or less. Not a big deal. All right, so anyways, that's kind of where we're at here for the moment. We'll pay close attention, of course, throughout the weekend, kind of see what's going on, and obviously, you'll see a lot more signals coming forward here too, because there's some really cool altcoins that are starting to take off. And what's interesting is Bitcoin dominance is still high. So once we start to see that dominance start to contract and come back down, then we're going to see a surge in a majority of altcoins. We might even see a specific sector that gets hit hard in a good way, right? So I'm really excited for that. So stay tuned. Obviously, if you're not currently a community member, jump on in there, man. We've been making some serious cash here with our trades in the Signal group. So once again, I send out signals for every single trade that I take. I also provide you with the Trading Academy, which is just hours of content where I actually teach you how to become a trader more foundationally and more of a mindset. Because it's more than just numbers here that what you see. I steel myself daily based on my experience in the last 15, 16 years. But in general, you have to build a stable foundation too, not just with trading, right? But with also your mindset and how you think about trading and how you respond to it too. Emotional trading is terrible. We never want to do that. And if you can learn how to take emotional trading out of the equation, which I teach you how to do as well, I think you're going to be much better off. Anyways, take a look at that, CryptoCache.tech, if you get a chance. If not, that's cool too. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, but I do look forward to working with you. I'll talk to you later.